Hey, welcome back. I'm Giga, an artist from Lisbon, Portugal, and this is day 12 of the Life in Lockdown Challenge. Go check out the previous episodes if you haven't yet, and subscribe so you don't miss out on the future ones. But let's get started. Today we're talking about sports, and I decided to paint this scene of a couple kids playing basketball based on a picture that I saw. One of the kids is stuck on the rim, probably after dunking with a little help from the grown-up that's next to him. But why this basketball scene? During most of my life, I played handball. I started in middle school as a kid when my brother tried it and noticed that a kid from my class was playing on the younger team. So I went to practice as well, and I was hooked. From that point on, I started having practices every day and games on the weekends for the next 10 years or so of my life. Only stopped when I went to study abroad in the Netherlands, because when you go study abroad, your priorities change a little bit. I eventually moved back to Portugal, started playing again at my university, until I got the job offer and I planned to move to San Francisco for work. I looked for a team there and saw that there was one in the Bay Area, so I got all excited. I emailed them asking where the practices were and when and all of that jazz. And once I eventually moved, I was ready to play, only to discover that practice was an hour and a half away by public transport. So I aborted that mission because I didn't have 3 hours of my day to spend going back and forth. The other thing that I learned that I thought was funny was that most people in the US don't know what a handball is. Not sure if you're American or not when you're listening to this, but picture somebody playing handball. And now I'm going to show you a picture of the sport that I mean. Were they the same thing? So most people in the US think that handball is a sport kind of like squash, that tennis thing where you hit the ball against the wall. But in handball, you use your hand to hit it against the wall instead of a racket. I always had to explain that it was an Olympic sport that had 2 teams with 7 players each, where you can dribble and pass kind of like basketball, but then your objective is to score on an actual goal, kind of like football or soccer as they would say. And they would always be super surprised. It was such a fun conversation to have. And it always just confused me how the US always want to be the best at everything. And then there's just this one Olympic sport that they just completely ignore. But knowing this kind of explains the fact that there's only one team in the Bay Area and it was an hour and a half away. Because here in Portugal, if I wanted to play handball in a 30-minute radius from where I live, I could play for 6 or 7 teams. And now we get to another question that might have popped in your head. So why are you painting basketball when we've been talking about handball for the past few minutes? Well, because I've never played handball out of the quote-unquote professional setting. There are no pickup games of handball in Portugal, and definitely not in the US. When you're on break at school, you always play football, or soccer for the Americans here, sometimes basketball or volleyball, but never handball, and I don't know why. So I guess I could have painted some other sports that I do when I'm not in lockdown, like skateboarding or rock climbing, but those are a bit more individual or with very few people involved. And I wanted to paint something that you could play with more people, even with strangers. And for me, that's basketball. There are these courts in the park here in Lisbon, in Monsanto, with an incredible view over the river and the city and the bridge. And I used to go there to play with friends, against each other or against the people that were already there. So that's why I'm painting basketball. And with that, I'm going to leave you with the rest of the painting process. And I'll see you in the next one. The second to last episode of this challenge. So remember to subscribe so you don't miss it. See ya.
Honestly, I don't know who the fuck to trust. Is she my friend or my foe? I'm a extra draw. Yeah, she give me that maybe I was wrong. I remember back when I was younger, I was happy. Nowadays feel like no one understand me. I'm good at artists, silly on Bob, Bambi. Baby's yellow, text. She wanna eat me like candy. Running through racks, track me. I run up the racks like an athlete. Big facts, you're at the dick, 6 flags. Ballin' like, think, told her I love her. I ain't really mean that, yeah.
Now they just people like funny.
Remember way back, she was love. These bitches sneaky can't cough. I got 4 hoes that went tough. I remember.